administrator of Marksmanship in the Classroom on Facebook. She has her 5 to 7 minute speech, right? Please help me welcome Maryann.
Marksmanship. To some people, you say that word and they light up. Guns! To other people, they start frowning. Oh my goodness, evil guns. Marksmanship is so much more than just guns. It is how free people remain free. It's not just guns. If you watch things like Hot Shots and Top Shot, they explain that marksmanship goes back to the Stone Age, back to when culture first started being passed around humans. It involves the addle, which is something like a spear, but it's actually thrown with a stick. It involves spears. It involves archery. Even though this word either get a hot or a cold response to it, it is so much. I'm the sole admin of a Facebook page called Marksmanship in the Classroom. On this page, what I strive to do is show how marksmanship, skills, culture, and the values that are taught within marksmanship can be introduced into a classroom setting without ever once bringing a bow, an arrow, an atlatl, or even a firearm into the classroom. Why, you may ask you, should we even entertain the idea of introducing marksmanship back into the classroom? It was in the classroom up until the mid-60s. This is why. If you're studying the 100 Years' War, you're going to learn about the English longbowmen. Why was the longbow so important? They were English, they used a bow, okay, they had the English longbow. The kids are going, really, who cares? So you had a bunch of guys fighting each other. The longbow was a tool that they were able to use to take off the enemy from afar. The English and the French were fighting for 100 years. Now, you want to know how important that longbow was to our society today? How many of you have ever heard, I'm going to give you the middle finger. It actually goes back to the 100 Years' War. The French, when they caught a longbowman, an English longbowman, would chop off their middle finger. F-U was really pluck you. What it was English longbowmen, when they would see French soldiers, would walk across and go, pluck you. Why? Because they needed that middle finger to pluck the bow. Throughout time and a lack of understanding of marksmanship, we've actually lost the understanding of how that longbow has influenced us today. Archery is not a dead thing. We learned in World War II, hey, we had bombs, we had the nuclear bomb. Look at all this cool stuff. There was a British archer in World War II named Mad Jack Churchill. Mad Jack Churchill was an archer. His first kill was, he had a platoon and they took out a British unit. I'm sorry, not a British unit, a German unit. They found them getting ready to attack another group, and from hiding, Mad Jack pulled his bow and took out the German sergeant with a barbed arrow through the throat. That was in 1940. In 1941, Britain wages a battle against a German entrenched unit in Norway. Mad Jack, as the platoon boats start to creep up to the Norway area, and as the back of the platoon boat starts to open, Mad Jack jumps out of his basin line, starts playing a bagpipe. As he's running off the ship, and he's finishing up his song on the bagpipe, pulls out 2 grenades, throws them, grabs his bow and his arrows, and starts plucking off German soldiers. He and his unit pretty much much won that battle. They took out an entrenched German unit with bows and arrows. And a little bit of firepower, but mostly bows and arrows. In fact, the entire operation was referred to as Operation Archery. Did we read about this in our textbooks today? No. Mad Jack's known for his famous statement of saying, a officer is never properly dressed unless he has his long sword. Why? Because Mad Jack actually brought his broadsword into battle with him every single time. And was known to use his broadsword in battle. After World War II, he became a professional bagpipe player. But he was a marksman. You ask yourselves, here in America, why is it that we sit there and you've got these gun owners who claim and scream and cry about their guns and not wanting to lose our guns? Concord and Lexington. In April 1775, Concord and Lexington. You all have heard about Paul Revere's famous ride, "The British are coming, the British are coming." It wasn't the British. We were all British. It was the British regulars. What they were doing was they were going to Concord and Lexington to confiscate the powder houses, because black powder is not all that stable. So everybody in a town would get together and put all their black powder in one place, in one silo. And when they needed something, they go and get what little they needed, and then they take it out. The British regulars were riding to Concord and Lexington to not only confiscate their powder houses, which was the only way they were able to hunt, but also to confiscate the Kentucky long rifles. You go, well, what's the difference between a Kentucky long rifle and whatever the British soldiers were using at the time? The British were using muskets. They were not using Kentucky long rifles. The Kentucky long rifle had a bored barrel, which put a spin on the bullets. It took longer to fire a Kentucky long rifle than it did a musket. But the Kentucky long rifle was more accurate, which is why the Crown did not want the Americans having the rifles. They didn't even want us to have muskets or the ability to make bullets, which is why we had the Paul Revere's ride, and why Paul Revere and the two other gentlemen rode literally for their lives to warn the colonialists that the British were coming. I shared this with you because in the last 30 years, we have lost this history from our classrooms, and it needs to be reintroduced. Thank you.